Sorry. I'll call the meeting to order, and first matter of business will be Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is over there. Beth, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Agenda review. I have one thing to add to the agenda under Chairman's report, which is the August Brookfield meeting date. And the superintendent, I think, has a couple of things to add.
Yes, I have a fundraiser request for Crescent Lake School.
That'll be under your report?
Yes.
All right. Is there any other agenda requests from any other board members? Awesome. We'll get right into the student representative. No, the KRMS student presentation.
Good evening. It's my pleasure. My name is Carrie Hunt. I'm the principal here at the middle school. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to our May Governor Wentworth meeting. At Kingswood Middle School, we continue to be champions for children and pride ourselves in serving the children and families of the GWRSD and Middleton communities. On behalf of the faculty and staff, we'd like to thank the school board superintendent and community for their support. One of the major things at the middle school that we've been working on over the last few years is developing a closer relationship with the Lakes Region Technology Center to develop programs to assist our students with their transition. As our students' needs are changing, it is important for a way of teaching and engaging students to change as well. We have a population of students in our school that are facing some challenges in the regular ed classroom. For the past 2 years, Karen Place, our technology teacher, has been working to connect middle school students with programs at the Tech Center. She has worked with Jen Ouellette to plan and schedule tours for students. They have also planned days for small groups of students to participate in the programs at the LRTC. In addition, students have attended job fairs and participated in Career Technology Education Week activities. Students have enjoyed these opportunities and have gained knowledge and understanding of the programs that are available to them at the LRTC and in their high school years. Karen's work at the middle school has also included starting a middle school's Skills USA chapter so that students can participate in competitions that align with these skill areas in career and tech ed. This year, we are extremely proud of our first group of middle school students who were participating in the Skills USA competition, and we have 5 of them attending the national competition in June. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Katie Hills, who is going to introduce our student presentation.
There you are.
One of our strategic plan goals, or sub-goals, within the academic achievement focus area is to develop different pathways to graduation. Karen is jump-starting this in the middle school. One of her primary competencies is to explore technical skills and activities related to careers and occupations. As Carrie mentioned, Karen's students have had the opportunity to not only explore career possibilities through research and in-class activities, but also by visiting and applying their skills at the Lakes Region Technical Center. They are getting connected to LRTC programs before they've even left the middle school, and are motivated to do well now so they can enroll in these programs when they get to the high school. The students tonight will showcase some of their technical skills, so please welcome Mrs. Place and her middle school students. Thank you. We're going to come over to the screen. So in my technology education class, we started a class called Tech Careers, and 8th graders are participating in that class. Mrs. Hills just told us about our technical skills activities related to careers and occupations, and these are the I can statements that students
are focusing on in that class, their interests, their careers, distinguishing between wants and needs, different careers or occupations, and gaining those skills. So what did I do in my class? And these two students, Parker and Emma, are going to talk to you about this, but we started with vision boards. And we moved on to the career questionnaire that is an assessment that's on the Lakes Region Technology Center website, and they'll talk to you about that. There's a reality check educational quest website that we use that Jasmine Pickle actually introduced me to that has worked well in this class. They have done career investigations, and they've hosted their own job fair. And the LRTC, some of the students and the teachers came over and went to our job fair. We've had tours, we've had guest speakers. Erin Morrissey came in and talked to us about owning and running a restaurant. Margot Skelly came in and talked to us about real estate and photography, so it was pretty cool. They've participated, they've actually gone and participated in the LRTC classes. And then lastly, they've learned how to read the program of studies. They've looked at the different career pathways in the program of studies, and they've worked on their class selection before they actually had to do that just recently. So I'm going to turn it over to them. So Emma is going to talk to you about vision boards.
Okay, so in Ms. Place's class, we did these vision boards where basically we went online and we found pictures of stuff that we wanted our future to look like in 20 years. So what we wanted our future career to look like, and where we live and what we have and all the stuff like that, and what you want your career and your future to look like within the next 20 years. And then also we did the career questionnaire in her class, and it's on the Lakes Region Technology Center website. But basically you fill out the survey on all these questions, and they ask you questions about would you like to do this for your career, and all kinds of different stuff. And basically it gives you traits and what careers would align with how you answered your questions. And it's really helpful. It helps you narrow it down on what would you think would align better than some of your other options.
So in this one, we had to learn how to budget and put money away into savings and utilities and food and transportation and stuff. And then,
That's your monthly, right? And then these were jobs that help you.
and then we had to pick out a certain job and enter in our salaries and stuff. And then over time and as you progress in the game, you can see if you either fail or succeed in monthly budgets and stuff. And then after we went over to the tech center, we had to do trifolds and stuff, and then we did a job fair with the trifold we did, and me, my friend Maddox, and my friend Peter did welding, and we had a welding simulator set up for people to try and see if they could pass that. And that was pretty cool.
So for my trifold for the job fair, I did preschool. So my initials are EGL, so I did Emma Grace Leroy's early grade learning for my preschool, and I put some toys out front from the help of our SSC teacher. Had to borrow those for the day. And basically I just wrote what your salary would be, what the day-to-day would be, how much it is for a year to go to the preschool and all that stuff. And we got to see kids from 7th grade classes and other explorers, and they came to our job fair and asked us questions.
So then we wanted to partnership with the Lakes Region Technology Center. So I worked with Jen Olette and scheduled times to take small groups of students over. So instead of taking my whole class over, I scheduled times where I could take 2 or 3 students over. I surveyed them to determine which careers they might be interested in, or which programs at the tech center that they might be interested in, and I scheduled it for them to go over and participate. So Parker got to participate in welding, so he wanted to talk a little bit about that.
So the same group that we did our trifold with, my friend Peter, Maddox, and I, all went over to the tech center and went into the precision manufacturing shop. And Mr. Meserve and his students taught us how to weld, showed us how to use the plasma cannon, like machining stuff with the drill bits, and like how they just spend their day in the shop.
So all of our students in the career class, pretty much all of them, if they had a career that aligned with something at the LRTC, we all got to go and experience one of the classes for the day. And so my class, we didn't really get to do much, but it was really nice to talk to all the like students in the class because the Magic Moments kids weren't there yet because it wasn't time, but we really got to talk to the teachers and the students and like how it is like being in the class and what they do day to day, and like I'm really excited to hopefully get the chance to do that. But like all the other kids got to go to like health science and automotive, they got to like work on cars and stuff, and then they did collision repair, and they got to like look at cars and work on automotive stuff.
And then lastly, the Lakes Region Technology Center has on their website, if I can pull it up, they have at the bottom, they have also kind of publicized it as well, experiential learning, collaboration with LRTC and Kingswood Regional Middle School students, and they have some more pictures of our middle school students working with the Lakes Region Technology Center students. And I think that's the best part for me. There's more pictures there, but they're not coming up. That's the best part for me, is not only are my students learning from the Lakes Region Technology Center teachers, because they're taking the time out of their day to talk to my students, but they're learning from the students. And when you can be in the Lakes Region Technology Center and stop and ask a student, of course I've had most of them, so I can say, Joe LaPierre was one of the students in the welding department that stopped and taught these guys how to weld, and Hayden Eastman was another one. And then the students in the health science, they had stations set up for my kids, and they could go through the stations, and they learned CPR, and they learned how to stop the bleed, which then led my middle school students to do job skill demonstrations, which led us to Skills USA. So that's our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Place, and thank you, Dr. Hills. Thank you to the students for coming and presenting. So our next order of business will be the acceptance of the minutes. So our first set of minutes is April 1st, 2024, the school board, regular school board meeting that we had for April. Is there a motion or any edits? I have a few edits, but seeking a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I just have two edits. One edit, well, both the edits are on page 5 during the public input. Under Representative Peternell's first public comment, it should say base adequacy aid instead of base adequacy rates. So that's the aid we get from the state. And then the other thing is under where I made a comment of personal privilege. I'd like that update to say, quote, Mr. Duchesne took a moment of personal privilege to make a statement that he had no personal impact on the strategic plan, no conflict of interest if the school district expanded student access to school meals or nutrition, and less than 5% of his 2023 salary went towards advocating for state legislation. He offered to answer questions if anyone has them. Just wanted to clarify that. So those are the only two edits I have. Does anyone else have any additional edits? Hearing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Tom?
Aye.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Abstaining. Okay.
Brody?
Oh, and I, yes. So the motion passes, and we'll go on to the next set of meeting minutes, the April 18th, 2024 Finance Committee meeting minutes. In attendance at that meeting was Tom Bickford, myself, Dr. Jim Manning, Guy Pike. Oh no, that's a special board meeting. I'm sorry, my apologies. The Finance Committee was myself, Dr. Beth Scheckler, Guy Pike, and Jim Pittman. So my one edit that I have is adding under other business a second sentence after the statement about Middleton that says, quote, also SAU 101 Wakefield has approached the district to update their tuition agreement. Yes?
Point of order, are we discussing the finance committee minutes or are we discussing the meeting on the board?
We're discussing the Finance Committee meeting minutes.
Move to accept. Second.
Is there any other discussion or edits? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Guy,
Yes.
Jim Pittman,
Yes.
Dr. Beth,
Yes.
and Birdie.
Aye. Next are the Buildings and Maintenance meeting minutes for April 18th. Who was in attendance at that meeting?
I'd move to accept as written.
There's a motion.
Second.
Awesome. And in attendance at that meeting were Tom Bickford, Dr. Jim Manning, Guy Pike, and Jim Pittman. Kathy, would you please call the roll? Oh, there was a second. I think, Guy, you were the second, correct?
No, I moved. Jim. Dr. Manning.
Seconded. Excellent. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Kathy, could you please call the roll when you're ready?
Tom,
Yes.
Dr. Jim,
Yes.
Guy,
Yes.
and Jim Pittman.
Yes.
Excellent. And then the last set of meeting minutes are the April 18th special school board meeting minutes. And everyone was in attendance except for Dana. I have no edits. Does anyone else have any edits or discussion? And I'd seek a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Charlene, second by Dr. Beth. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Tom,
Yes.
Dr. Jim,
Yes.
Guy,
Yes.
Jim Pittman,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Charlene,
Aye.
Dr. Beth,
Yes.
Birdie.
Aye. And the manifest approval for tonight is in the dollar amount of $3,773,833.29. So I would seek a motion to approve the manifest.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Kathy, could you please call the roll?
Tom,
Yes.
Dr. Jim,
Yes.
Guy,
Yes.
Jim Pittman,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Charlene,
Aye.
Dr. Beth,
Yes.
Dana,
Dan, you vote yes on approving the minutes? He was not here.
Sir, are you abstaining? Abstain.
Birdie.
Aye. So the motion passes. All right, and next is public input, and I'll respectfully ask that people direct their comments to the board or to the district, not to each other, and that they be polite and respectful. There's a mic right over there on the chair.
Right. My name is Jacqueline. I am a special education secretary at Ospey Central School and a member of the GWSSA. I have 2 active kids in the middle and high school, and I recently went back to school to finish my degree to one day become a special educator, hopefully in our district. On any given day, many of us are not just taking on our daily roles. We're helping cover lunch duties, recess duties, giving extra support as a para, driving evening trips for athletes, or offering support to a student who is having a bad day and just needs someone to talk to. The support staff in our district goes above and beyond our daily duties, and they do it, and they don't do it for the money. They do it because they love what they do and they love our kids. In the past, the board has said no to reopening negotiations for higher pay. You have said no to retention bonuses. We strongly urge you to reconsider this, as we currently have over 30 support staff job openings within our district. They are an integral part of our school who support our students, classrooms, and our teachers. I would urge you to talk to professional staff who have also showed up to these meetings in support of our contracts, and talk to support staff to see what a normal day for the support staff entails. On behalf of the GWSSA, we are asking you to reconsider your no and show the support staff the appreciation they deserve, especially as negotiations are coming up for our contracts.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carrie Duran, and I currently have 3 girls in the school district. I have twins, Isabella and Marisol, who are graduating this year, and I have a 13-year-old daughter, Katie, who is a 7th grader at the middle school. And I'm here today in support of the proposal in front of you to expand the unified athletic program. My daughter Marisol participated in the unified basketball team this year. It was an amazing experience for her to have that opportunity, for her younger sister to be able to come and watch her and their friends play in the game. And I would love for my daughter Katie, not only when she enters the high school, but when even at the middle school, to have the opportunity to play 3 sports a year if she would like. She was born with a developmental disability of Down syndrome, and she does need that extra support that a unified program would offer. And she loves soccer and would be just really excited to have that opportunity. So as a parent, I'm here to ask you to support that proposal. And I fully support it myself, and I'm excited for the opportunity for her. And on just 2 separate notes, I just wanted to say thank you to all of our, don't turn to the back. Thank you to all of our support staff within our district. My daughter Katie has some amazing support staff that I'm very grateful for, and we need to take care of them because they take care of our loved ones, my loved ones. They're really important. And just wanted to say that on a side note. Thank you very much.
Could you just state your town of residency for the record?
Sure, Wolfeboro. I live in Wolfeboro.
I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Is there any additional public input? There'll be another period at the end of the meeting if you wish to speak later. But seeing none, I'll close the first period of public input, and we'll move to the student representative report. Elliot Giesler, take it away.
All right, thank you very much. Whoa. Hi. Hello, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elliot Giesler. I'm a senior this year at Kingsley Regional High School. I'm from Tuftonboro. And here we go. So starting with the athletic program, about halfway through the regular season for just about every spring sports team. A lot of teams looking to make playoff pushes, a lot of athletes looking to make personal pushes to make improvements. Track will be starting their qualifying meets this weekend, and their state meet will be on the 24th of May. A lot of senior nights coming up for these teams, so if you have a chance to go down to the fields to watch them play, you absolutely should. So it's always a good time. Moving to the arts department, the music department will be having a concert this Friday. Both the band and chorus, as well as the jazz band, will be having performances. It's their last one of the year. The music department is also getting ready for their New York City field trip. That will be next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They will be going down, first they will be going down to New Jersey, and we will be competing against choruses and bands from all over the country. We will also be getting a tour of New York City itself, and we will be seeing a production of Wicked on Broadway. Students are very excited about that. A lot of fundraising went into it, so they're very excited that that's all going to pay off. And finally, moving inside of the regular school building, AP tests coming up next week, so all the world history, English, calculus, bio, everybody getting ready for what will hopefully be a good week for a lot of students who are looking to get some of those college credits out of the way. Prom is coming up this Saturday. A lot of fundraising went into that. Still looking for some volunteers to help decorate the boats. So, if you know any students you can peer pressure into helping, please do. The Gold Scholar Luncheon will be held for our seniors on May the 22nd. We will be going down to the Back Bay Boathouse for that. The National Honor Society is doing its READ program the week of the 27th, I believe. It is a program where we in the National Honor Society go to different elementary schools throughout the district, and we play games and do activities with the kids and read books to them. NHS will also be doing a car wash on the 25th of May to help fundraise for different events. And finally, seniors are continuing to organize all their end-of-the-year activities. We met during task today to help get some of it hashed out. And to be honest, we're kind of running out of days. There's a lot of stuff we have to do. But we seem to have figured it out. Graduation will be on the 14th. Senior banquet is the week before that on the 7th. And yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report. Dr. Callahan.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank Principal Carrie Hunt and teachers and students for the presentation this evening. Fantastic collaboration with LRTC and just our career pathways and multiple pathways. So thank you for that. That's my segue into Teacher Appreciation Week that starts today. So Teacher Appreciation Week is May 6th through May 10th. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation. This is one week when we shout it from the mountaintops, but we're grateful and appreciative of our teachers every single day of the school year. So thank you. And I'll move into the last day of school. So the last day of school, as I announced to families and staff before break, is Friday, June 21st. It will be a half day for Middleton Elementary. For those of you who are connected to Middleton Elementary, that's Thursday, June 20th. A couple other highlights I'd like to share from my district report. We received notification that the high school was approved for their NEASC accreditation. So the Commission on Public Schools voted to continue the high school and tech centers accreditation based on their 5-year progress report. The Commission commended several achievements, including the establishment of the core values and beliefs team, implementation of departmental common rubrics and summative assessments, creation of new courses, the competency-based education format. They noted the significant strides in creating the Portrait of a Learner initiative, commitment to the whole child, as well as the one-to-one Chromebook, and it goes on and on. So congratulations to the high school. And then I'll just highlight the strategic plan. So we'll continue to provide updates to the community. This is one way that we'll communicate at school board meetings. In the short month of April before break, I had the opportunity to present an overview of the entire plan to all staff. So we had an early release on April 3rd, and pre-K through 8 participated in a virtual session with me, and I visited the high school faculty meeting on April 16th. So it's at those meetings where we reviewed all the focus areas, strategies, goals, and the timeline for implementation, and how staff and families and students can all be involved in our first steps in kicking off the strategic plan. So that is my district update.
Do any of the board members have questions for the superintendent? Awesome. Continue.
Thank you. Next, I am very pleased to turn it over to the KRHS Unified Sports Proposal. Who would like to take the lead? We have a microphone right over here.
Hi, I'm Shelley Iston-Lang, a counselor at the high school.
And I'm Aaron House, the athletic director.
So we've worked together to write a proposal to expand the unified sporting program at Kingswood. We have a proposal and then a summary of the proposal. Would you like me to read through the summary?
That sounds great.
Erin was kind enough to write the proposal. I wrote the summary. I'll go ahead and read it. We're requesting approval for 2 additional unified sports because currently we only have 1 unified sport at Kingswood Regional High School. We align with the strategic planning goals of creating an inclusive environment and promoting physical and emotional wellness. We firmly believe that all students deserve the opportunity to be a 3-season athlete. As it stands, students with intellectual and developmental disabilities only have the opportunity to participate in 1 sport. It's unified basketball. Furthermore, we advocate for more unified sports because our unified basketball program is highly popular and creates additional opportunities for youth leadership, advocacy, and whole school engagement. Any questions?
Are there any questions from members of the board? Yes. Ben.
Do you know which other sports you'd like to add?
It would be soccer in the fall and
Track and field in the spring.
there are a big group of kids who are eagerly awaiting playing soccer. They're very excited. If you've question?
Yeah, Jim Pittman. It's the bottom, kind of by the tape.
Thank you. I hate to even ask this question, but do we know what the monetary element of this is? Is this built into our funding?
Mr. Chair, may I speak to this? So there are costs associated with these 2 teams. However, the teams, upon approval by the board, will follow the interscholastic sports athletics policy, where it's a phase-in process. So initially, there would not be a cost to the district.
I can add to that too, because I reviewed the policy. It's a 5-year probationary period, and then it's phased into 100% funding over a 5-year period. So it starts at I think it's 40 or 50, and it goes gradually up. And my assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, the current unified basketball, that's 100% funded, but it would be for the 2 new seasons. That would be probationary, and then, so it would be a 10-year period.
That's correct. And the only cost, as of right now, even under that policy, is the district does provide transportation in kind.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes, Beth.
And it's strictly at the high school at this time?
Well, the hope, we started with the high school, but the hope would be to include middle schoolers if we could.
Under the same proposal?
I think it would have to be a different proposal. Want me to hold that? I feel like we're at a concert.
Yeah.
Right now, the NHIA offers unified sports, 3 seasons. We would like to see that obviously happen for our high school kids. There's a full schedule, interscholastic schedule, where you travel the games, you host games, during all those 3 seasons. There seems to be more and more interest at the middle school level, not only in our school, but across the state. So I think that's something that needs to be explored. To me, it would have to be something possibly added later. However, the opportunity to do club unified at middle school could be something that we could try on a test pilot process.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the unified basketball team and the proposed 2 other teams, would they be co-ed or are they split?
Yeah, unified sports is all co-ed.
Right?
So I don't know all the logistics like Erin and the athletic directors do, but as a staff, faculty, parent, I would do whatever I can to help create a rich program at the high school, which we've already got basketball, so it's pretty easy moving into the other 2 sports. I think it'll be very easy. And then involving our middle schoolers too. I would invite you and encourage you to check out one of our unified games, basketball. It is awesome. It is truly the joy, the cooperation, the smiles, the sportsmanship will make your day for sure, make your week. It's really benefits all who participate.
Thank you.
Thank
With
you.
that being said, I seek a motion to accept the KRHS Unified Sports proposal as presented by the athletic director.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? I'll say it's an amazing program. I went to one of the first games when I was in high school, and that gym was completely packed with people overflowing out the doors. So there's a lot of support from our community.
Yep.
With that, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Who was the second?
The second is
Sure.
Jim Pittman.
Tom?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Rudy?
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next is the Portrait of a Learner presentation from the superintendent.
Okay, Portrait of a Learner. I'm standing over here so I can see the full board, and I'm not going to ask the team to talk, I promise, but if you are here and you're on the team, can you please stand up and be recognized? Thank you for your dedication. We have met for 2 years. We have worked with the New Hampshire Learning Initiative. We have put surveys together. We have facilitated and organized input from the community members, staff, students. It goes on and on. Our conversations throughout the years have come to this point. And it's great timing because after the strategic plan was approved, and the Portrait of a Learner is something that is really under the wing of the strategic plan. It's timely, and it feels really good to get to this point, having really worked across the district in our towns. So what we have here today, on behalf of the POL team, we request the board your endorsement of the Portrait of a Learner attributes listed in your packet. These attributes are a result of many months of gathering stakeholder input as well as hours of team discussion and deliberation. Thank you for your consideration of the GWRSD School District and wider community's collective Portrait of a Learner. And the Portrait of a Learner is truly the North Star. So if you're wondering, what are we going to do with this? The portrait is the North Star, and it's something that we're going to be reflecting back on ourselves, our curriculum, our practices, our planning and our goal setting, and always looking at this North Star, because this is what our community members are asking us to create in our students who move all the way through the district. So in no particular order, the attributes are academically successful, which means academically skilled, demonstrating knowledge and understanding and achievement. Next, resilient, which means grit, perseverance, challenges self and self-advocacy. Third, problem solvers, critical and creative thinking, adaptability, solution-focused, collaborative, and innovative. Fourth, responsible, positive and respectful community member, engaged citizen, integrity, and empathy. And then fifth, self-directed, organization, focus, motivation, communication, and self-awareness. So our community is asking us to look for these and to nurture these attributes in our students. Academically successful, resilient, they will be problem solvers, they will be responsible and self-directed. So upon approval, we will ask the LRTC graphic design students to create a graphic to depict the portrait. So after it's approved, we will have several versions, and we'll ask the community to vote on the graphic options, and then we will have that graphic depiction of the Portrait of a Learner. Within the strategic plan, there is a goal. By the 2027-2028 school year, we will fully implement a portrait of a learner. So tonight, school board, I ask for your action. We happen to provide a proposed motion for your convenience.
Are there any questions for the superintendent before we get into a motion discussion? Tom?
Superintendent, what is the portrait of the learner going to look like when it's implemented in 2027, 2028?
What it can look like is under each one of these attributes, we can say, if someone says, how are you creating a resilient learner? How are you creating a problem solver? And we will have answers to that. We will say, let's see, they're resilient as evidenced by moving through a certain curriculum in 9th grade. They'll be responsible by demonstrating that competency through this class in 4th grade. They'll be self-directed as evidenced by perhaps we have a community service requirement and they are putting together that project. So it's up to us. That's an excellent question. That's the next steps. It's up to us to say, okay, then how are we developing this in our learners? This is our portrait. Now we have to answer that question and say, okay, this is how we're doing it. This is how we're infusing it in what we do at this district.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Jim?
I'm going to actually make the motion to approve moving forward with the Portrait of the Learner program.
There's a written motion at the bottom of your page.
Oh.
Yeah, makes it very convenient.
Why would you think I'd read that? Okay, proposed motion. I will return to the page. To endorse the superintendent's proposal to adopt the Portrait of a Learner attributes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mary. So motion by Jim, seconded by Mary. I just have one question. Could you describe how you collected your data information from the public? Because that was a pretty involved process. I think it's important for the board and the public to know.
Absolutely. So the team did that in a few ways. We put out a survey and we shared that with the community in different ways. We used social media, we put it up in town, we had it at the lobby of different events, the QR code. We sent it to staff, we sent it to the school board, we sent it home. I think I sent it home in the family newsletter probably too many times. So we shared it with different groups in several different ways. We wanted to make sure that we shared it with all the stakeholder groups in ways where it could be accessible to those who wanted to fill out the survey.
Thank you. Is there any additional questions, discussion? Tom?
Sure.
Mike, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I know. You did push it.
How many people responded to the surveys?
Oh, I don't have that number, but I can tell you we had over 1,000 votes on attributes. Over 1,000 votes on attributes.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other discussion or questions? All right. The motion is to endorse the superintendent's proposal to adopt the Portrait of a Learner attributes as presented. Motion made by Jim Pittman, seconded by Mary Shilrick. Kathy, would you please call the roll when you're ready?
Tom?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you, team. And we'll follow up with the board with the graphic design. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the ESSER 3 learning.
No, just kidding.
You have more questions?
No, it's okay. In some ways. Okay, ESSER 3 learning loss. So we came to the board last month and previously regarding the plan and budget for ESSER 3 learning loss. So for ESSER 3, you're required to use a minimum of 20% toward recovering learning loss that may be as a result of the pandemic. So, and there's a list of eligible, funding activities. Thank you. For the 20%, we have drilled down and made it even more specific for the board. So as we shared with the board previously, we are using some of the funds for professional development and contracts for services. We surveyed the staff and came up with a list of different professional development activities. There are, 50-ish different professional development activities. They're all within the strategic plan focus areas. So we have a lot of wonderful staff input on that. We also surveyed families, and we're offering summer camp slots at Bear Camp in Tamworth. We're also funding, we're reimbursing families $1,000 per student when they submit for reimbursement after attending the state list of camps shared by the New Hampshire Education Department. So we have really good feedback from our families that would help to send more students to camp this summer. We have plans to order materials for kids and for classrooms. That's part of the budget. And then finally, transportation is the rest of the budget. So the majority of the funds are for professional development, summer camps, materials, and then the remainder would be for transportation. So these are estimations here in the materials that we shared with the board. Bless you. This represents the SAU leadership team meeting every other week for a few months to put these together and to survey families and staff. So what you see here, there's an activity in the grant management system to get approval for these different activities. There are at least 50, probably more around 60 in anticipation of this meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone on the board have questions or comments? Charlene.
Thank you, Brody. First of all, I want to thank you, Dr. Eric Helian, for the follow-up email. We had a brief bit of a discussion at, I think it was our March meeting in Tuftonboro, where I had brought up a concern about a particular segment of our no longer student population, but our recent graduates. And I had a great interest in, I know I've heard from members of the community as well, to find a way to address some of the effects of the pandemic learning loss for our recent graduates, specifically the graduates of Kingswood 2021 through 24, and perhaps some in 2020. And I was wondering what sort of support we were going to provide for those students, because there have been several studies about what we refer to as executive functioning needs that were not able to be addressed given the modifications we had to make to the learning environment during the pandemic. And I had asked specifically, because as a layperson, I read through a lot of the things that are mentioned, and it's kind of Greek to me. So I would hope that Katie could sort of follow up and help us understand which specific, or maybe Dr. Akelian, which specific ways we're going to use some of the ESSER funds to address the struggles that our recent graduates are having.
Yes. So, thank you. So what we're planning to do is, so first I want to mention we're very fortunate to have a thriving adult academy, the Carroll County Adult Academy. They have a connection with NAMI, so the Mental Health Institute. And so that is a resource for the adults in our community who are looking to further their education and to be connected to more resources. But more in the short term, we're going to invite back a speaker who we've had here before to focus on anxiety. She specializes in talking about anxiety and mental health and just functioning of the brain, which is definitely connected to executive functioning. So Lynn Lyons is someone who we've had in the past, and she is an incredible speaker and author. She's a neuropsychologist, I believe, psychologist, and she speaks all around the country. And so we're going to have her back, and we're going to open that up to the community. So that's going to be at the end of August. We're working on the time because we want to make it as accessible to families as possible and to really anyone in the community. But she is, I recommend anyone going to her website. I believe it's lynnlyons.org if you Google her. But she's just a wealth of information around this area. She has several books and she has a new documentary. So we thought that would be the best way to address those, concerns and to support people who might be interested in that information.
Is there any other comments? Oh, Mary, go right ahead. We'll get back to you right after, Charlotte.
I just want to say thank you for the efforts that went into this process. I spent a great deal of time looking at the respective categories, Googled a lot because I hadn't heard of some of these, and many are very familiar. So I appreciate the intent, the follow-through, and the responsiveness to all that's here. I was particularly I participated in that, it's not about me, of course, but the mental health first aid training through work with CERT. Each one of these is so powerful, so informative, and so related to academic achievement. And also, could you talk a little bit more about Qualtrics? I did Google it, but I'm curious. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So Qualtrics is an organization that helps to display your data online. So that would be a contract where we can show the community the progress that we're making on all our goals on the strategic plan in real time. So when you display that on the website, it shows when people, it shows bar graphs and it shows they change as you receive new responses. So it's about being accountable to the community. They would infuse that. They would create a strategic planning dashboard on our website. So that's one half of what they would do. The other half that we're working with them, that's a priority, is to have a tab to solicit more community input and feedback. So it would have, like on many websites, if you go on the Subaru website, it says, click here. We want to know your thoughts and feelings. We want to have something like that too. So they're the masters at technology and data. So that would be another way that families or kids or anyone could click on it and they could just share some feedback. They could share a concern. They could share a celebration. But that's what Qualtrics does, is they infuse that into the websites. Thank you.
Any other questions or Beth?
Dr. Eric-Elian, are some of these listed programs asynchronous or just available throughout the year, and how long would we have would the district staff have access to them?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. We're required to expend ESSER 3 funds by September 30th. So these trainings must be completed by that time. Some of the trainings are virtual, some are hybrid, some are in person, some are we're putting them on here, some are an event where staff will go there. So all different modalities.
Any other questions or comments? Charlene? Sorry, I have to let everyone speak first.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up. The information about Lynn Lyons and all of her workshops and books and whatnot, and whatever date she's going to be coming, I think you mentioned in your email, you thought it was going to be August the 23rd. Could we please make sure that her information and her links are posted on our district website? Because I know that we do have graduates from the last several years who are struggling. And in regards to the Carroll County adult education, are there courses specific to supplementing, what's the word I'm looking for? The learning loss as well as executive functioning. Do they have existing classes for that? And it seems to me that because we're trying to mitigate what took place when these students were freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors during the pandemic, would it be possible to designate some of the ESSER funds for those students to take those classes? I'm guessing there must be a charge for the classes, but I'm not sure.
So I would, I'm not sure about the course of study for the fall. I think that's something that they're probably putting together now. And I know that there are some scholarships, but that's something that, we link on our website, and we can make that more front and center so it's more accessible to people.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Charlene, I might recommend that there's something that you put on your academic affairs, maybe agenda to talk with Dr. Hills. And I can also connect you with Crystal Sawyer, who helps run Carroll County Adult Education. So I'll send you her email, and you and Dr. Hills can find a way to coordinate. I just have one question. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, Beth.
I know the board is to vote on this evening. Is there an additional step for approval beyond our decision tonight for these funds to be allocated?
So the state has to approve every single activity.
Okay.
However, I did put a proposed motion here that includes pending state approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the front page.
Sorry. My one question is, I noticed that the 20% requirement, this budget doesn't quite make it. Is that just to allow some wiggle room, or because we're about $5,245? Not about, we are $5,245.57 short still.
We're $5,000 short. That's not meant to allow wiggle room. That's some of these are an estimation because people still have to sign up. Families still need to submit to us for reimbursement. So these are based on the numbers that we have now.
Okay, so some of them are estimates, some of them are probably pretty solid.
Correct.
If we were to run into an issue getting close to the September 30 date, are there contingencies for how we can make sure we can invest in staff and students?
Yes, and that's where transportation comes in. Because at that point, we will know how much we can invest in transportation.
Okay, so just so the rest of the board's aware too. Any other questions or discussion, Tom?
Yes. Hello? Hello? Got it. Is there any discussion of advertising this, and would any of that excess money be put towards advertising, so I guess out to our alumni who have scattered? So it seemed that we would want to do some advertising, even for the local folks.
So what we have talked about is how to communicate it. Qualtrics is actually a piece that can support that. We're also talking about, because that's part of the strategic plan, one whole area is about family and community communication. And we want to expand communication in different ways. So it could look like social media. It could look like public relations. It could look like having a representative in each school building, be a point person, that would be internally. And also we need to connect with our alumni association. So that's the best source of all the contact information for those who, were connected to Kingswood and still, want to give back and reciprocate. So we have had some of those conversations. Thank you.
Excellent. So seeing no other discussion, I would seek a motion as printed in our meeting packet to approve the estimated budget as presented for 20% of the GWRSD SA3 funds to recover from learning loss as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic pending state approval.
Mr. Chair, I propose the proposed motion. I'd like to move to approve the estimated budget as presented for 20% of the Governor Wentworth Regional School District ESSER 3 funds to recover from learning loss as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic pending state approval.
Second.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot for it. Oh, she can have, okay. All right, motion by Mary Shillerip, seconded by Dr. Scheckler. There's no other discussion. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Tom?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth? Yes. Dana?
Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. The motion passes. And we'll move on to the Wood Estate application that we've received.
Thank you. So the Wood Estate Expendable Trust Fund application, this is something we bring to you every year from the high school. The KRHS is seeking $10,000 to award 10 $1,000 scholarships to the class of 2024. And we seek your action.
Before the questions asked, I think you know what we're going to ask, Kathy. We're all good?
Yep, all good.
Yeah, so we have enough money. So, is there any discussion or any questions? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion to accept the Wood Estate Expendable Trust Fund application for $10,000 for 10 $1,000 scholarships to the class of 2024 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Charlene, seconded by Dr. Jim. Is there any additional comment, questions, concerns? Please of help. Seeing none. I got your attention there, Tom. Seeing none, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Tom?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. General assurances.
Thank you. We're required to have general assurances on the agenda every year. This is a document for all sub-recipients of federal grant funds through the New Hampshire Education Department, and it must be signed by the superintendent and the chair in order to be deemed substantially approvable and to have final approval and to spend federal funds.
Are there any questions or comments? Then I'll seek a motion to permit the superintendent and the chair of the board to sign the general assurances on behalf of the school board and district.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Guy Pike, seconded by Dr. Jim Manning. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none. Kathy, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Tom?
Aye.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. Yep, so there was one addition to the superintendent's report, which was the Crescent Lake 2024 Otter Fun Run crowdfunding request, and that was added to your meeting packets. Go right ahead, sorry.
No, thank you. So this is a request, and per the DFGA crowdfunding policy, any request for approval of a crowdfunding campaign shall be in writing. And so this is an application from Crescent Lake School. I see Mr. Beaverstock in the audience if there are any really specific questions. But this is an exciting endeavor. Fun Run 101 is the request to use this crowdfunding website. They're looking to raise $10,000 to go towards field trips, the annual ecology school trip, and scholarships to support students and families in need for any Crescent Lake programs such as winter sports and after-school clubs.
Are there any questions about the application or the policy? Yes, Dr. Beth.
So I was looking at the policy DFGA, and it indicates that for crowdfunding sources that monetary donations must be made payable to the district. And in the application, it's indicated that the principal would like the PTO at Crescent Lake to receive the donations per the application. And so I'm wondering if, I don't think that that's allowable. Is that something that we have a solution for?
Do we have a PTO?
Most of them are approved.
So they're in our student activities. Ryan? I don't have a list of the student activities, but I know we've had quite a few of our PTOs have the student activity account within the district. So therefore, that's where we are allowed to have it, to the name of the district.
Our PTO does not have a student activity account. We have several student activity accounts, so we can certainly change the amount and direction of the money to go into the student activity instead of the PTO. It doesn't. I think I put PTO down last year. We had a fun run. We just collected funds. It did go directly to the PTO. The PTO then purchased the shade you can see on our playground. This year we want to repeat the fun run activity. I think I left the PTO as being the source, I guess, of the funds, but we can certainly change that.
Good catch. So when we make a motion to approve, we'll just say with the contingency that the school district is correcting the crowdfunding income.
And I would like to just add that I contacted the vendor because I had to vet them. And I spoke, Brian was able to connect me with the person behind the company. And I emailed her my issues or my concerns and needed some answers to. And she responded right back, and it's completely the way that will fall under our processes and procedures and is allowable. So it passes the vetting process as far as the financial piece of it and the exchanging of money.
Okay. Only one other small little thing.
Before you ask, is there anyone else who has any questions or comments? Go ahead, Dr. Beth.
So the policy is quite hard-nosed about name, image, likeness rights regarding students, and there's a student photograph on the Fun Run flyer, so just as long as that's clear and clean, just don't want anybody to run afoul of anything.
That is a student, it's actually a child of one of our PTO members who I did reach out and got confirmation, I think I have email confirmation, that I could use his picture. We could always use a different picture.
As long as you have, I think the policy says as long as there's permission, it's fine, but just so you're covered.
Is there any additional questions? Then I would assume the motion is to accept the application with the contingency that the funds are collected by the school district. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Beth, seconded by Mary. Is there any other discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none. Kathy, will you please call the roll when you're ready?
Tom? Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana? Brody?
Aye.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, we're cooking with gas. On to the chairman's report. That's at the end of the chairman's report. Don't worry, we'll get to it. I promise you. First, correspondence and information. We sent expressions of sympathy to a member of our transportation department. Also, we have NHSBA training dates. I have listed here that Thursday, May 9th, 6 to 8 o'clock, there's a webinar for a new school board member orientation. So, Guy and Beth, I would highly recommend attending. Tuesday, May 14th, from 12 to 1:30 p.m., there is a webinar on right to know and public meeting laws. I attend that one every year. Every year there's always something that you go, oh, I might have forgotten about that. So I very much would implore everyone on the board to try to even at least sign up and then watch it at your convenience, because they will send you all the materials from the presentation to watch at your convenience. And if you ever, forget to sign up, you can always email the NHSBA directly, any of their staff members, and they will send you their meeting informations. Wednesday, May 15th, from 12 to 1:30, there's a webinar on special education law for school boards. If you'd like to attend, so be it. I mean, that one, if you miss one, that's, it is what it is. May 20th, from 6 to 8, the basics of collective bargaining for board members. If you're on the Human Resources Committee, please attend that one. I know Mary implored us to share their last training they did on that in 2021. We shared it and some of the information with the rest of the HR committee, and that's important. We have 2 negotiations that will be happening this year, one with our support staff union, as I mentioned earlier, and another with our administrative union. So it'll be important to be all brushed up and ready for that. And then last is Thursday, May 23rd, from 12 to 1:30. There's a webinar on the iPlatform portal into public schools. And other than those webinars, we will have our board member training with Barrett Christina, Tuesday, May 21st at the KRHS Plex from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. For those who don't know what the Plex is, it's that room where it says the word Plex right on the outside. So that's where we'll be meeting. And other than that, I took a great training, I want to say it was last week, on chairing board meetings. So that was pretty good, pretty timely, right? So I couldn't recommend the School Boards Association's trainings enough. They're, a plethora of information. And, the more you're able to attend or at least sign up and watch at your convenience, you'll find that you become a better board member, you're better to contribute at meetings, and you're better to serve the public. So, again, I'd highly recommend. With that, so correspondence, check. NHSBA trainings, check. As we added to our agenda at the beginning of our meeting, the August board meeting date. Discussion, possible action. I know we had discussed at our last meeting that we had board members with conflict of meeting on the first, was it the first week of August or the second week of August?
First for me.
It's the first for Guy.
Second for me.
It's the second for Charlene, and we're currently scheduled for, I think, the second.
August the 12th. That is the first, which is the second Monday.
I'm wondering how board members feel about changing that date. Do we want to move it to the first week of August? Sorry, Guy, or do you want to keep it at the second week of August? Sorry, Charlene. So, I don't know. Do you guys want to flip a coin for it?
It is on.
Give it a tap.
I think it would be great. Is that coming through? It should be, yes? Really close now? Better? Okay. I think it would be great for us to find a time where we could all attend, because, Dr. Jane, please correct me if I'm wrong, I remember a number of years ago, we couldn't meet in Brookfield the first Monday of the month because there was a conflict, I think, with the Board of Selectmen. And last year, we did meet the first Monday, which was great because that meant I could attend the Brookfield meeting for the first time in over a decade. And I'm just wondering if the other board members would consider alternate times, maybe perhaps the last week in July. There's nothing that says we absolutely positively have to meet on a Monday night, because in the past, I know that we have rescheduled meetings, and so I'm hoping there can be some flexibility so that both Di and I will be able to attend the August meeting, even if it becomes the July meeting.
I think that was me. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Did you turn yours on before I turned mine off and they were pointing to each other, maybe?
I have no idea. Sorry. I don't know, can I have yours? Because I don't like mine anymore.
It's probably hers, because hers is acting funny.
But hers is, let me try again.
Battery might be dying.
No. Hello? Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Is it on?
Yep. That's great.
All right, we'll use our voice, or outside voice. Well, I think we know every year you guys are going to be busy either first Monday of August or the second Monday of August. So you guys want to consider, or at least Charlene, the last Monday in July.
Aye.
Do you guys want to make the motion in second?
I make the motion that we meet on the last Monday in July to facilitate Charlene and my attendance.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion or issues? I just looked at.
29?
Yep.
That's the 29th. I just looked at my calendar. I'm available. It'll be, hopefully it's a rainy day, so I'm not like. Yes.
I found the 26th.
Federal BOS. BOS meets in the second quarter, I'm pretty sure.
We would have to check for the SAU and the Board of Selectmen for October 4th.
Would you guys make your motion contingent upon availability of space?
Certainly.
You second that?
I certainly will, yes.
Okay, so the motion is to move to the last Monday of July, Brookfield meeting, contingent that there's available space. And if there isn't, then I assume we'll be talking about this in June.
Well, you could also authorize us, to look into it and provide several days to the board as when we usually schedule a special meeting.
I'd say if it's unavailable, then you guys can find some dates, we'll act on them.
Could you please repeat what Dr. Eric Kelly said?
She said that we could,
Or she could repeat it.
yeah, if you could, I'm scared of your mic.
I believe my mic is working. Check,
There
check.
we go. Hold on.
So sometimes when we have to schedule a special meeting for the board, we find some available dates. We have to look at the venue. We have to look at the SAU availability. And then we put out a selection for the board, and we get consensus. And then we find it, and we send it back to you. So I think we could do that. I think what the board would need to vote on would be to allow us to do that and agree to go through that process, because you already voted on your whole year of meeting dates, so you just have to vote to release yourselves of that one and allow us to help you find another one.
I'll rescind my motion.
I'll rescind my second.
Okay.
Now, could you read what you would like?
How I should, the
Would
motion?
you like to phrase the motion for us, please?
Always in my spot. Motion to not meet during the August date and allow the SAU to coordinate a date that works for all school board members within the month of July or August.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
My only comment is, stop, turn it off on me. Oh, no, it died.
Oh, just down
Okay.
here.
I'm cursed right now.
Doesn't-
I'm gonna try this one again. I'm gonna.
Do you want to try this one?
Hello?
too? Here's-
Nope, it's still not doing its thing. Let's try this one. It's like every meeting, play mic roulette. Is this on?
Yes.
Look at that, it's a miracle, glory, glory, hallelujah. My only concern is I'd like to have it done on a Monday, because that's pretty consistent with our regularly scheduled meetings. I might not be plausible, but I'm just gonna posit that comment, not hold back the motion, but I would prefer a Monday just because the public has a general expectation.
I'm on the town of Wolfeboro, and their meetings are the first and the third Tuesday at 6 p.m.
So they meet on Tuesdays, the first and third Tuesday. They moved it.
Yeah, it says new meeting date.
I kinda wanna go back to July 29, man.
Hold on, that's old. I just saw that, it's old, it's out of 2022.
Oh, that's,
Should not do it myself.
all right, then the motion, would someone make the motion that Dr. Arkelian said? Oh, Guy made it. And did you second? Okay, perfect. All right, we have a motion on the floor. I provided some discussion. Is there any other discussion or questions? Hearing none. Kathy, will you call the roll?
Tom?
Can you repeat what the motion actually is at this point?
Did you get it? To not meet on the August date and to allow the SAU to coordinate a date in July or August that works for all board members.
Very good. Yes. Thank you.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Charlene?
Absolutely.
Dr. Best?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. All right, that was the most discussion we had tonight. Next, we are on to committee reports, academic affairs. So this is second read. So Charlene's going to read us the policies under the section 1, and then if anyone wants to make any edits, they can present substantive edits, and then we'll vote on all those policies, and the same thing for section 2 and section 3. So Charlene, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr.
Do you want to use this one?
Sure.
We're down to one mic to start with.
Yay. It's green. Go. Okay, that's working. So we're going to do this as Brody said. First, I will read the one and only policy that we have, which is a new policy, and that is GEA, Athletic Team Coaches. And were there any suggested revisions since our last meeting? Mr. Chair, you're going to want to call for the vote, yes? Or
We need a motion.
well, we need a motion, but I mean, do you want me to hold on to the mic and do that, or do you want me to give it back so you can do it?
I don't need the mic, I'll facilitate though. So
Okay.
is there a motion to adopt, second read, policy GEA, athletic team coaches?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Jim Pittman, seconded by Dr. Jim Manning. Any final discussion? Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Tom?
Yes.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene?
Aye.
Dr. Best? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. I liked how that flowed.
I'm going to read through the titles of the policies that are up for revision, and then I guess we will find out if anyone has any revisions they'd like to incorporate. The first one is GA, Personnel Job Descriptions. GADA, Employee References and Verification. GBD, Board Employee Communications. GBE, Employee Rights and Responsibilities. GBEA, Staff Ethics. GBEBA, Professional Dress Code. GBEBA-R, Guidelines for Professional Dress. GBEC, Drug-Free Workplace and Drug-Free Schools. GBG, Employee Protection. GBGBA, Use of Automated External Defibrillators. GBJ, Personnel Records. GBJ-R, Personnel Records. GBJA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, also known as HIPAA. GBK, Employee Complaints and Grievances. GBK-R, Employee Complaints and Grievances. GCB, Staff Contracts. GCBB, Special Contracts. GCCBC, Family and Medical Leave Act. GCF, Professional Staff Hiring. GCF-R, Professional Staff Hiring. GCG, Part-Time and Substitute Staff. GCO, Evaluation of Professional Staff. GCQA, Reduction in Force. GDF, Support Staff Hiring. GDO, Evaluation of Support Staff. GDQ, Support Staff Termination of Employee Agreement. And last in this group, JLF, as in Foxtrot, Reporting Child Abuse or Neglect. And these have all been recommended for adoption as revised.
Is there any discussion, comments, or substantive edits that anyone would like to make? Yes, Tom.
I believe it's on GABA. In the state version.
You
I'm
said
sorry. Let
GADA?
me take another one. Oh, GADA, with a D.
Yes.
It has the,
Use the microphones. We can hear you, Jerry.
I can try, Jerry.
You can do it, Tom.
GADA, it's missing, it's got the legal references to the federal laws, but then it's missing the cross-references to the other rules that you should look at when you're looking at that. And I think those are very important to have to look at as an individual looking at it, make sure you see what things affect other things. And I would ask that they be restored. And I imagine it was just an oversight. But that and any other policies that might be missing those cross-references.
Charlene?
Just for clarification, Tom, are you asking for the references to the New Hampshire School Board Association recommended policies? I'm just not clear.
Yeah, that's what I'm referencing as the template that I'm looking at. And then we have our policy that we're looking to adopt. And the New Hampshire template has both the legal references, which we have too, but the New Hampshire template has cross-references to other policies that you should look at when you're looking at a particular policy so that you know how they affect each other.
So you're looking for the particular link for a particular policy to be included from the New Hampshire School Boards Association?
Yes.
Yeah. Heather has a comment. Go ahead, Heather.
Yes, Tom, those are for when we do our background work to prepare it for committee. We always cross-reference if there is, in this example, GBCD is referenced. So before we bring it to committee, we make sure that GBCD is compliant. And if revisions need to be made to the cross-reference policy, we bring that forward to the committee as well. So anytime you see one that has the New Hampshire School Boards Association referencing another code, we have already vetted that and made sure that it's consistent.
Okay.
Oh, is there any other comments? Okay, go ahead, Tom.
I think that leaving those in this particular instance, there were two cross-references that cross-reference to legitimate policies, and then there was one cross-reference that policy didn't exist, so I understand that that would not be included in it.
I'm gonna request that there be a motion. If you'd like these cross-references to be added, then let's discuss a motion if you'd like to make the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the cross-references to other policies by code number be added or retained in the policies that we publish in our manual of policies.
So moving forward.
Moving forward, and as if we come upon it.
Okay.
And, you know, right.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing a failure to second, the motion dies. So we're back to discussing the policies. Do you have any other comments on GADA? No. Are there any other comments on any of these other policies up for revision, substantive edits that people want to make?
Mr. Chair,
Questions?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Tom, could you, so the policies that you're referencing are put forward by the school board administration, or are you talking about cross-referencing in our own policy, other pieces of the overall body that should be reviewed by a person referencing the document?
Go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, folks. The state provides, the New Hampshire School Board Association provides us with those sample policies. And then within those sample policies, there are references to the federal policy, federal law.
Right.
And that's still in there. And then there's a step down from that, there's cross-references to other policies within our policy manual that you should check and see how they affect each other.
Okay. But for a person coming to the policy, really that would be applicable for a policymaker or someone revising, right? But someone coming to the policy as a practitioner looking to apply the content therein.
Well, it would also be the board itself.
Okay.
It could be members of the public, because it's these exceptions, these cross-references that can sometimes hang you up. You read the policy and say, that's perfectly clear.
Okay.
But then when you see how it's affected by other policies, you realize that's not perfectly clear.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that this be returned, like this particular issue be brought up in the next Academic Affairs Committee meeting so that we can discuss it further.
We can get that towards that at the end of the Academic
Great.
Affairs Committee report. I'd like us to talk about any substantive edits or discussion on the policies as presented. Tom presented something, and it's something the Academic Affairs Committee can definitely review, and if you want to make a motion at the end of Charlene's report, I'll permit it, but I'd like us to discuss the policies in front of us. Is there any other discussion on the second read for the policies up for revision? Are there any questions? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the policies under item 2 under the Academic Affairs report. Or to adopt for revision.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Jim Pittman, seconded by Charlene. Is sorry, I don't want to stop the discussion, but it's just there are some things we'll get to, and we can definitely get to your motion at the end. So, with that, is there any other comments or discussion or questions? Hearing none. Kathy, when you're ready, can you please call the roll?
Tom?
Aye.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. So the motion passes, and we are now on to section 3. Charlene, would you please read the letter codes and the titles of the policies?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first up for withdrawal, and I just want to remind everyone that the 4 policies are brought to the board for withdrawal. We have carefully cross-referenced and have determined that they have either been replaced by other existing policies, or they're no longer relevant because they've all been incorporated into other policies. Starting with GBD-R, procedure for presentation before the school board. GBED, tobacco/e-cig products, ban use and possession in and on school facilities and grounds. GBGAB, Affordable Care Act. GC, recognition of professional bargaining units. GCAAB, professional staff hiring, nurses. GCBA, placement on the salary schedule. GCCA, leaves of absence. GCCA-E, leaves of absence. GWRSD SAU 49, paid/unpaid leave request form. GCG-R, guidelines for hiring substitute professional staff. GCH, professional staff orientation. GCI, part-time employment. GCK, professional staff assignment and transfers. GCMC, meetings for professional staff. GCO-R, administration guidelines for annual academic coordinator/department head/team leader nominations. GCOAA, dismissal and non-renewal. GD, recognition of support staff bargaining unit. JICG, tobacco/e-cig products, ban use and possession in and on school facilities and grounds.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, questions? I mean, I think the only thing that you would do at this moment is if you wanted to keep a policy or refer it back to committee. Hearing none, then I would request a motion be made to approve the policies recommended for second read for withdrawal.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Jim Pittman, seconded by Dr. Jim. Any final discussion, questions, concerns? Hearing none. Kathy, when you're ready, can you please call the roll?
Tom?
Aye.
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana? Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. Okay, so before we get to the end of the academic affairs committee report, something I learned during our chairs training was not everything requires a motion. So Charlene, would you consider adding Tom and Dr. Beth's proposal to the next academic affairs committee agenda?
Certainly.
Okay. So it'll be on the agenda for your next academic affairs committee meeting. I'm not sure when that is, but coordinate with Charlene and with administrative staff, and it can be considered and maybe come to the board as a formal vote if the committee wills that as a recommendation. Got it.
If I may.
Yes.
For those members of the public in attendance and those at home, our Academic Affairs Committee basically has been going through and reviewing our policy manual, which is available online. And it's a Herculean task to update and try to make it current again, but they're working their way through it. It's not always easy to find the information you want to find. For example, under the instructional line that you'll see, number IHAM is an opt-out form for people who don't want their children to have sex education or health classes, for example. Again, you really have to dig. Sometimes it's not where you might think it would be. But it is there, it's public, and I would suggest that the board consider sending one of these forms home with every child at the beginning of the school year. Something we can think about. I don't make a motion at this point. Something to think about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that concludes the academic affairs report. So we'll move on to the buildings and maintenance.
Testing, okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, building and maintenance, the big item agenda tonight is the 3 proposals from Train, which spell check to your agenda is not T-R-A-I-N like little tooth, but it's actually T-R-A-N-E. Okay. I know the computer did it, auto-corrected. We all know how this works. Okay.
No, I didn't.
We didn't catch it.
Okay, we have 3 proposals here. This is the big chunk of the ESSER funds. These are proposals for the Carpenter School, Crescent Lake School, and Ossipee School. I'm going to turn this over in a moment, but I'd just like to emphasize that there is a brain-rattling amount of detail in these. And I'm going to ask that we not workshop these tonight. This is the culmination of months of work leading up to this. And we are at the 11th hour to be able to move this forward and get the work done in time for the deadline that the ESSER funds prescribe for us. So we cannot afford another moment's delay. I know it probably could be a great use of your weekend to go through and read this in detail, but I would ask you to trust that the committee, the admin people, many others have spent hours and hours getting to this point. And also just announce that Train has also generated the drawings, the stamp drawings are going to be necessary to go to the fire marshal in order that we can then move to the next step of getting this approved by the state. So that's just my admonition on that. And Superintendent Arculi, can I pass this to you to embellish?
Thank you very much, Mr. Pittman. Yes, the Building and Maintenance Committee, along with Kathy Oblenis and myself, have worked with Train, and it's hard to really outline the whole trajectory over the past 2 years coming to this point, but I feel so grateful we have contracts in our hands. As I said before, ESSER 3 funds need to be spent by September 30th, 2024. There's no guarantee for a late liquidation approval, so it is absolutely essential that we can move forward after this meeting so we can sign these and then return it to Train so they can begin their work.
Okay, thank you very much. Having said all that, though, are there any general questions in regards to this from the board? I think we've covered this ground before. And maybe I could just note that the total monies that they put forth came in slightly under what the original estimate was by about $100,000, I believe, collectively. So that's good news. We get all that we were hoping to get in this phase of the project. And also mention work is meant to start immediately at the end of the school year. They will be working like a herd of bunnies to try and get everything done in time for most of this work to be substantially completed by September when we go back to school. So that's the other challenge, is logistically doing the physical work. There's 100 million details to it, but the trained folks have assured us that they believe they can accomplish this.
Thank you, Jim. Procedurally, if anyone has any questions or comments, I'd ask that you'd ask them now. And I'd like, once discussion's over, a motion to be made to accept the Carpenter School, Ossipee Central School, and Crescent Lake School contracts for the HVAC project. Yes, Charlene.
I kind of have a concern about the, I think you said there, Jim P., there was no waiver for if train runs behind when we have to expend the monies by September the 30th. And correct me if I'm wrong, please, but didn't this process of ours become delayed because of action by the New Hampshire Department of Education? And that's my recollection, I could be wrong. And given the fact that they delayed this process to a certain degree, if their initial delay causes some problem, they would not entertain an extension for us to use the funds in case something goes horribly awry.
I'll ask Dr. Eric Elliott and Kathy O'Quinnis to answer the question. If there's anything you want to fill in, Jim, feel free.
No, I would also ask Superintendent to address that.
Thank you. You got lucky and you got unlucky.
Test. So we have, we've received, let's see, how shall I explain? We've received several inquiries from the state for information regarding the projects, and we've complied every time. It's been throughout the past couple years of my tenure here, moving this project forward, working with the vendor, many meetings with the committee, and then the state has the challenge to expend these funds and give us those requirements. And so they've asked us for documentation, they've asked us for signatures and approval and votes at different times from the board and from the SAU. So it's been a long process, and it's been challenging on different occasions. But I'm confident that we can move forward now, because HVAC projects are allowable under ESSER 3. We know that there are other districts in the state that undergo with Train. Train is using ESSER 3 monies at other districts such as Dover and Concord, and doing very similar projects. So we know this is allowable. So although the state, regarding late liquidation, although the state is telling us, they're cautioning us that they will not allow late liquidation projects, what they are saying is that, if by chance, by September 30th, some more units need to go in buildings and we're this close, they would allow it. But with these contracts, we would hope to expend the funds well before that time. But thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the HVAC contract with Train for Crescent Lake School, Carpenter School, and Ossipee Central School.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any final questions, discussion, concerns? Please have help. Hearing none. Kathy, when you're ready, can you please call the roll?
Tom?
Aye.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Sky?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brady?
Aye. Motion passes. Jim, do you have anything else?
I'll do one more.
It's either way too loud or not loud enough.
Somebody's got their microphone on? Okay, very good, thank you. For my next number, just announce that the next meeting for the committee will be on June 6th at the SAU office at 3, is it 3:30?
No, I think it's 3.
3, okay, 3 o'clock. And that ends my report. Thank you.
We'll figure that out.
Okay. Good. Can I borrow your mouse? Which one's working? This one. Do I have a working mic again? Hello? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Look. Thank you. Thank you to Wolfeboro Community Television for advising this. First, so Finance Committee, we met on 2 matters, the freedom tuition vote and the town of Wolfeboro impact fees. So I will first, the freedom tuition vote is going to require a vote, and we're going to get clarification on Kathy in a minute about the second one. But so some additional information came after our meeting. Freedom only wants to tuition 10% of their students 7 through 12, which is about 9 students, so you'll see in the packet. So this is something that other SAU 13 towns, which the other 2 are Madison and Tamworth, have been exploring and have proposals with other school districts, not ours, but I know specifically Tamworth has an agreement like this that they just made with Wolfeboro previously. All 3 of those towns sent 100% of their students grades 7 through 12 to Kennett. So they're trying to explore some choices for their students and send a portion of their students to other school districts. Other towns that feed into Kennett, like Albany, Jackson, and Bartlett, are also exploring similar things. So towns feeding into Kennett are looking to send about 10% of their students to some school districts, and they brought a proposal to us that was 10% of students, which is estimated about 9 students, and the cost that we would get per student that they would pay would be the average cost to educate either a middle school student if they're in middle school, or a high school student if they're in high school. So for the governor wanting taxpayers to pay for that. So what we're looking for is to approve the tuition agreement with Freedom and to peg the cost per pupil at what the average cost is per pupil in our high school or middle school. Yes.
Would that tuition have some kind of a transportation agreement? How are we looking at transporting those kids?
They would be responsible for transportation.
Strictly on the town of Freedom?
Strictly on the town of Freedom.
Thanks.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, strictly transportation is their covered cost. Jim.
Refresh my memory, but I think there was the possibility that they would eventually like this tuition all of their 6 through 12 students at some point. I understand they're being restrained by their contractual agreement with Kennett currently, but they have a desire maybe to accelerate that, and if they're successful, it might happen in a relatively short time in the future. Are we going to have that as a conditional element on this?
No. So I reread the Conway Daily Sun and some of the meetings that they've had with Kennett, and Kennett's school board has gone to these smaller school boards throughout our county. And their school boards have shown pretty overwhelming support of keeping many of their students in Kennett. They want to explore, they want to see if there is possible better partnerships in the future. But something to remember is a lot of families that might live in a town like Freedom or Madison, you know, their kids, those parents have tended to go to Kennett. So they have a fealty to Kennett, similar to, like, you know, obviously people who are from this area who send their kids to Kingswood would probably prefer that their towns continue sending their kids to Kingswood. And currently it's not 6 through 12, it's 7 through 12. So, I mean, we can take additional students. We have room in both our middle school and our high school, and the revenues will help our taxpayers and help our educational services. But it's really those smaller school boards, they're in the driver's seat determining how they want their relationship to look like with Kennett in the future. And if they are to partner with another school district to, you know, work with Kennett on what Kennett will even permit for their existing agreement, and then what we have for space, which we have space. So we're pretty open to whoever is coming to us and willing to pay the price per pupil that it costs our taxpayers to pay for education for their pupils.
And I'd just like to reiterate for the public and for folks watching at home that that per pupil cost is not inclusive of costs related to special education, which the home district would also completely bear, which was clarified during our finance meeting.
Thank you for that clarification, Beth. So are there any additional comments or questions? So, I mean, to really put it in perspective, there's not going to be a financial burden our district will have. We'll accept 9 more students, and those will go towards revenues, and it's not going to increase the number of teachers we need or other staff. It's an opportunity for their school district to pilot what it's like to send kids to another high school, and hopefully a few years down the road they might want to send more of their students. There's some things in the works with Wakefield where they might want to increase their student percentage, but we still haven't gotten any formal proposals from them. But with all of that being said, I would seek a motion to approve the Freedom Tuition Agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
You guys want to rock, paper, scissors? Flip a coin? You think it was Guy? Beth is, she's the line judge. She's calling it for Guy. So motion by Jim Pittman, seconded by Guy. No other discussion? Oh, yes.
I'm just wondering if, for Kathy's sake, you would like to have someone actually read the proposed motion?
Oh, is there one on here?
Yeah,
Yes, there is.
That's right.
Where is it? Oh, look, to Jim Pittman's point, if I read it, I would have known.
Bad habits.
Would you like to read that, Jim? The motion?
You've got the bully pulpit with the operating mic. Go ahead.
Perfect, thank you. So Jim Pittman's motion, that Guy Pike seconded, was to accept students in grades 7 through 12 by a tuition agreement with the Town of Freedom at the current GWRSD middle school and high school tuition rates as a cost per pupil, and that the Freedom School District funds special education and transportation costs. If I had just read the motion at the beginning, I think it would have answered everyone's questions, wouldn't it have? Did you have a question?
No, that was it. Just
Okay.
housekeeping.
Thank you. Thank you for housekeeping. Kathy, when you're ready, can you please call the roll?
Tom,
Aye.
Dr. Jim,
Yes.
Guy,
Yes.
Jim Pittman,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Charlene,
Aye.
Dr. Beth,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Brody.
Aye. That concludes the Finance Committee report.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't. You're right. I'm getting tired. Sorry, I was up early this morning. Thank you for keeping me housekeeping. Thank you for the housekeeping. Town of Wolfeboro impact fees. Okay, so you'll see we received a letter in return, and for some context, the Finance Committee requested that the administration engage in negotiations with the Town of Wolfeboro to present a certain amount of money that would be paid back to the Town of Wolfeboro for impact fees that they overpaid to the school district. It's our position that the Town of Wolfeboro, based on when they were providing us the revenues, that one, we couldn't account them as revenues that would offset the tax rates. They gave it to us when we had to put it into our miscellaneous revenue line, which is in accordance to what our accountants have told us and what state law requires. And when the Town of Wolfeboro found their 10-year error, they wanted to be paid back. They gave a proposal where we would pay back the Town of Wolfeboro's portion that they enriched the other towns of the district, which is about 64% of what they paid. Of $307,699.83, they wanted that over a 10-year period. We have money in our coffers to be able to pay them back in 1 year and not prolong the process. So when we last discussed as a finance committee, we agreed on that number, that seemed like a reasonable number of paying back the town, and recommended that that's what we consider, but contingent on whether or not our auditors in the state would permit that. So with that, I think I should give you my mic, Kathy, so you can clarify what we're allowed to do.
So I had spoke to my auditors, of course, whether it be the auditors or the New Hampshire Department of Revenue, who are in charge of setting the tax rate, and the Department of Education, specifically the finance department, Mark Maganello. He is my contact there. So I spoke with the auditors first. I had shared the document with a little bit of the background. The auditor said the personal preference that they would like to see, believe it or not, is not a check back to the town, but is a credit to their assessment. She said that is much easier to track and to follow than an actual check, because a check would mean we'd have to cut the check and charge it to an expenditure line. And she said to me, what expenditure line would you like to charge that to? And I said, well, what the most appropriate one is. She says, it's easier to do a credit. So I took that information and then brought that to the Department of Revenue and the Department of Education, School Finance Department, like I said, Mark Maganello. I had a conversation with Mark on the phone. He had stated that whatever the district decides is fine. They do not get involved in that. He appreciated the fact that I was addressing this and asking the right questions to all three auditors, DRA, and themselves. And he appreciated that and actually got his gears going on a whole different path that we had a nice conversation about. But he wondered how many other towns have regional school districts that didn't realize the same thing. So, so he appreciated me reaching out. But he did say that whatever the district and the board decides and approves, just to send that document along with the meeting minutes to them each and every fiscal year. So let's say the board approves doing an offset, which is a journal entry, a credit to the apportionment for the town of Wolfeboro for like the next 3 years, the next 5 years, that I include the meeting minutes and a note stating that to both DRA and to the DOE, and they can attach that electronically in a portal that'll keep for now until they keep the portal, so it'll keep on going. But he said that would be fine. DRA said, once again, they don't want to get involved, obviously, in what the board decides. That's not their purview, but it is an acceptable, allowable way in which to go about paying back, is a credit through the apportionment.
Okay, so hearing that, it seems tax credit is the best vehicle. So our first question that I'd like, the board to act on and for us to discuss is the exact dollar amount. So the finance committee, after talking, Town of Wolfeboro originally wanted us to pay back the full $480,780.98, but we pointed out that a third of that did indeed go towards their apportionment, because a third of it went, brought down the tax rate evenly for the entire school district, and Wolfeboro usually pays about, on average, 34% of the school district's budget. So we did agree upon that there's $307,699.83 that the town of Wolfeboro enriched the other towns. Our position is because of when they gave us the revenues, which made it impossible for us to be able to fill out the proper document with DRA in a timely manner, so it had to go into miscellaneous revenues. So the first question is, do we agree that we want to pay back the town of Wolfeboro $307,699.83? And the next question is, what do we want the term to be? How many years do we want to be crediting it back? So I gave you what the finance committee discussed and what their opinion was, which was the full money in a 1-year credit. What do others feel? Yes, Beth.
I just I think in the finance committee there were two payback numbers that were discussed. There was this 64% figure, but then wasn't there also a discussion about a half rate of what was offered? Okay, I'm misremembering.
That was the first offer.
Okay.
The town interpreted the number as $250,000. We interpreted the number as $150,000. The town, in their return letter, said they did interpret it as $250,000, but that they wanted their full back, even though they made a mistake. They wanted their full amount back. So the question in front of us, Beth, is how much do we want to credit the town of Wolfeboro for what they enriched the other towns over the last decade?
Are we taking that separately in consideration to your double barrel question prior regarding the term?
I'd like to discuss, I mean, we can make one motion, but I'd like the discussion to be, do we agree on this dollar amount? Because I wouldn't want to get determined until we all agree that there is a dollar amount that the majority of this board agrees upon. And then when it comes to term, that might be a little bit easier of a discussion to have. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
Yeah, I do want to, I'd like to ask Kathy, when Wolfeboro pays into the district now properly at the right time? How much are we looking at coming in?
We don't know because it's based on their impact fees that they collect. So that's based on their RSA and their approved impact fee document.
It's impossible to estimate because we don't know how many housing units will be made in the town of Wolfeboro each year. Your town actually has impact fees too.
Yeah.
And it's so infrequent that units are made that you guys give us the revenues pretty randomly, right? Like 2 years can go by. So the town of Wolfeboro levies an impact fee of a little over $2,000. But there are some years where there's only like 4 housing units built or 6. There's some years where housing development goes in. There's right now a 180 unit proposal on by Filterbed Road and Pine Hill Road, and all of a sudden the school district would get a bunch of money from the town of Wolfeboro, and Wolfeboro's school tax rate would decrease for 1 year. So it's very random. It usually has ranged, at least when I asked the town's tax collector and the head of the planning department, Tavis Austin, it ranges from a few $1,000s to a few $10,000, depending on how much building is going on in town.
Well, it must be like $48,000 a year if you average these 10 years.
Yeah.
Out to 480,000.
Yeah, some years though have been pretty crazy.
Simple.
Yeah, well, some years have been housing developments, and some years there aren't housing developments.
I'm just saying on
Yeah.
average.
So I would say, personally, since we're discussing it, I feel comfortable with the figure that's proposed, and I don't want this hanging over Kathy's head for the next 5 years. I would like to see it done fairly quickly.
So, any other comments from members of the board?
I'd like to see it done so quickly that we pay it in one payment and be done with it.
Okay. Jim Pittman, do you have?
Well, I appreciate that, except that if I heard you correctly, Kathy, giving it as a credit is really the preferred method.
Yep.
And there'll be no 1 year credit of that magnitude. Unless we want to just say, here, we're giving you this coupon for $307,000. Use it as you will over the next millennium, or however you want to do it.
The auditors, and like I said, the DRA and DOE said, however you want to do it, but a credit is the way to go.
Yeah, so we can do 1 year now. 1 year credit.
But will we actually disperse funds to them?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it'll be a credit that will
just like
roll over from year to year.
Right, so each year I would have to do, like if we did what it says in the document here, for the next 10 years, I would place a credit on specific state documents to all 3. And actually the 2 documents to DRA and to DOE, the auditors would get that as well, of $30,770. So, you know, whether it's $307,000 one time or however you want to do it, but it's a credit. It decreases, just like our unreserved fund balance. I don't cut the check, we don't cut the check back to each of the towns with an unreserved fund balance. It's a credit to offset that goes towards decreasing the tax rate in the fall.
So so will that represent sort of a windfall to the taxpayers in year 1?
I don't get into how this affects the taxpayers. That's their lane. Again, like I tried to say, I go and do what we have to do and what we're responsible as a school district with RSAs, RRSAs. I don't get into how they set the tax rates. That's the DRA and the town, you know, when they discuss that. It's just, this is the mechanism. This is approvable by all 3 entities.
To my understanding, Jim, it would be the town of Wolfeboro would be taxed next. So, you know, I get a tax bill coming up this June or July. I'll get a tax bill in December, and Wolfeboro will be able to raise $307,699.83 less from the school portion of the Wolfeboro property taxpayers bill. But ultimately, difference would be made up through the our formula, our local funding formula. And everything would balance out all at the end. So if we're overpaid for 10 years, then it would be paid back in 1 year.
So the result is current taxpayers will be enriched by the contribution of previous taxpayers. Oh, well.
That's one way to look at it. But is there any
That's
other?
fine. We can't do it any other way.
The board can decide how much it wants to pay back or how much it doesn't want to pay back. And
I
they can
don't
decide the terms.
argue with the total figure. I'm only asking questions about the method of credit.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. And what the term is, how that mechanism works, it would be a credit. And I'm hearing a majority of the board members are talking about a 1-year credit of this dollar amount. Are there any other comments, or does anyone have a contrary opinion? Yes, Tom.
We've been talking about the town of Wolfeboro and the district, and we're going to pay this amount back by credits to Wolfeboro. How does that affect the outside town? I mean, we're taking $250,000 or whatever the amount is. That's not the amount. We're taking that amount out and giving it to Wolfeboro. It has to be coming out of the towns. And
would you like to make a comment?
The towns received it to begin with, essentially, is what the town of Wolfeboro is saying, because it didn't go solely to the town of Wolfeboro to credit them. So, as we were saying, the taxpayers of before are now reaping the benefits of the taxpayers going forward. Same goes the flip with the others. I mean, it's,
I hear you, Tom, the optics, but if we frame it the way you're framing it, then that will be obviously negative optics. But the reality is, the town of Wolfeboro for 10 years paid more than it needed to, and the tax rates in the other 5 towns were decreased because of such.
I understand.
So Wolfeboro's new treasurer wants us to make it all even, to say, well, this is how much Wolfeboro overpaid, this is how much of it went towards Wolfeboro's portion of local education funding, this is how much went to the other 5 towns, and Governor Wentworth, we'd like you to pay us back. And we pointed out that it was mostly a clerical error on their end, and that we would enter into good faith negotiations, and then bring forward what the Finance Committee and the administration found as an agreeable number, and ultimately, Wolfeboro thinks a 10-year term is the best route. I guess maybe they think we wouldn't be able to afford it, or maybe it would decrease the impact on the outer towns, but I'm not sure how much it would actually impact the outer towns' tax rates. So that's a separate question unto itself. I mean, if you guys want to do a longer term, it would mean Kathy would have to fill out more paperwork, but it may defray costs to the outer towns' tax rates.
Kathy, is it going to reduce your paperwork burden, really, if it's over a longer period of time?
It makes no difference to me. What I would pretty much do is set it and forget it. I would do out all the different fiscal years out, however you choose to approve.
So the burden would be minimal to you and the SAU. And there's a potential upside of creating a lower impact on those outer towns who we should be sensitive to, that this could be a real shock if we try to do it all in one. Okay. So then I completely reverse my earlier recommendation and say we should take advantage of the 10-year term that was offered by Wolfeboro.
You want to do 10 years?
Those will be paid in inflated dollars.
Well, hold on, because time value of money, Wolfeboro also, it's the same thing too, because it was over a 10-year period.
Oh, but they're not talking about any interest rate.
No, and I think there was some discussion about that on their end, and they recognize that.
I don't see it here.
It's not here, but. Well, then I guess then the question would be, do we accept the town of Wolfeboro's offer? Do people actually want to do a 10-year term for that dollar amount?
I don't want to hurt the outcomes.
Then would you like to make the motion, Beth?
I would. I will make a motion to accept the town of Wolfeboro's offer to pay back the sum of $307,699.83 over a 10-year term for their overpayment to the school district.
Second. As a credit.
As a credit.
As a credit.
Second.
Did you get that, Kathy? No, you didn't.
I can get it to you. Yeah.
Okay, but are we all in agreement on what we're voting on? We're voting on accepting the town of Wolfeboro's, their proposal as a tax credit over that 10-year term. And the motion was made by Dr. Beth. The second was done by Dr. Jim Manning. Is there any additional discussion or questions? That was a complicated one. It took a while for us to wrap our heads around it. Not just the finance committee or the board, but just generally, and the town of Wolfeboro's treasurer who, you know, his numbers weren't entirely straight the entire time either, so. God bless him.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can we address the issue of explaining to the towns after this motion is voted on, or do you want to include it in?
I'll permit a discussion after we vote on
Okay,
this.
thank
So I do want to get through the substantive part, sorry. So, with no other discussion on the substance of what we're voting on, this agreement we're entering into the town of Wolfeboro. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Tom?
Aye.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene?
Aye.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. And I assume there'll be some kind of document I eventually have to sign on behalf of the board for a moment.
That's right now, yeah.
Okay. So, and Tom, you had a question about communicating with the outlying towns. If you could be brief, please.
So I think, Dr. Beth, we kind of on the same page that the outside towns need to be informed that this is coming, because they're going to be being paid each year an increase equal to the credit that we're giving back to Wolf. So that's an increase in their tax liability to the district. And I think that we need to be in communication with them and explain to them what's happening, because if I was a selectman in a different town, I would probably live it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you'd like the administration to communicate with what would likely be the equivalent for the towns, which would be a town administrator, manager, or finance director that they have. And they can share it. Well, maybe not necessarily a board of selectmen. That's the only person. Anyway, so, I mean, is that an unreasonable thing?
We can put a letter together. I think it might be more appropriate from the board.
From the board? And
It's a board action.
okay, so that'll be something we'll act on at our next meeting then. So for our June meeting, we'll get a letter together and we'll.
You can make a motion.
You want to make a motion now?
Or someone could, they could make a motion to allow us to, or to send a letter, allow the SAU to author a letter that you review, and you send on behalf of the board to
Okay.
communicate the impact fees paid to the town of Wolfeboro to each of the other 7 towns.
Do you guys want to act on that tonight, or do you want to act on it at a future meeting? I have no preference either way. Yes, go ahead. Well, first, let me hear if I have any answers to my question, and would you ask your question?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. May, but yes.
I would imagine, but does anyone have a preference to doing it at the next meeting, or do you want to do it right now?
I would prefer to do it at the next meeting and we can discuss. Well, actually, I don't care.
Any other comment?
My only thought is that if we did it at this meeting, the administration would be able to work on that draft. It could get circulated to us, and perhaps we would act on it in June.
I think what the superintendent was proposing is that you guys would permit her and myself to draft a letter and for me to sign and send it on behalf of the board.
Will we see it before that's sent?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. Would you expect us to take action on it at the next June meeting?
Not necessarily, because it's just communication. you know, it's really communication of a motion you already made. So it sounds like you just want us to communicate a motion that you've already made. You know, there's nothing in addition to that.
I guess the substance of the two different motions is, do you want to discuss it and posit any edits at a public board meeting in the future? Or are you okay with being told what is going to be sent and it gets sent? Yes, Charlotte.
Excuse me, my question is, do we have, since we're talking about a credit of $30,000 a year, is that going to necessarily result in any kind of substantive increase in the tax rate in the other towns?
Very likely no, and that's the benefit of doing the 10-year term. But I think there's something we said for transparency too.
Yeah, no, I'm not objecting to sending a letter to all the towns. I would include Wolfeboro so that everyone knows, you know, exactly what's happening, because Wolfeboro is part of the district. And I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm just wondering, would we include the potential tax impact from this?
I would stay far away from
Yeah.
that, because that's not
'Cause
my
we-
lane. That's-
right, okay.
We don't
all right,
set
you did say that.
DRA
Yeah.
sets tax rates, and what those tax rates look like they're dependent on a whole host of factors, per
Right.
pupil, property evaluation, when reevaluations are done. It's kind of tough. I mean, I guess what I'm going to ask is,
We know
if you have an option of two motions for how this letter is. The board can permit myself and Dr. Eric Killian to draft a letter for me to sign and for us to send to all the towns, Board of Selectmen's, budget committees, and town administrators or town managers. Or we can just add it to the agenda for the next meeting. We don't need a motion. We'll act on it the next meeting. So you'd like to do it now. Would you like to make the motion?
Absolutely. Is there already a motion on the?
No.
No. I move that we accept the proposed handling of.
No, we accepted that. We're just talking about a letter.
We're not, okay. Well, that's what I was wondering. We already did that.
We accepted what the town of Wolfeboro proposed to us.
Okay, got it, because you made the motion.
Now the question is, do you want to make a motion that Dr. Eric Haley and I write a letter, let the board know what the letter says, and then send it? Or do we want to take no action and then discuss a draft letter at our next meeting? Those are two choices.
Since we've already approved the proposal, I move that we authorize Dr. Eric Killian and Board Chair DeShays to work together, drafting a letter to send to all the towns in the district, updating them on how we're handling the overpayment of impact fees.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Guy.
I would just like to append to the motion pending board review of said letter.
Then there would be no point in giving us
You're just
permission.
going to circulate it, right, Brody? It
We'll
doesn't have to go to a public
circulate
vote.
it. We'll definitely circulate
Okay,
it,
great.
but there won't be a second vote.
Okay.
Yes, Jim.
If I could just comment, $30,000 a year sounds like a lot of money, but for a $60+ million annual budget of taxpayer money, it comes into a small fraction of 1% of the total tax collected. I mean, it's diminishingly small. And I think that we don't want to make a tempest in a teapot over all of this. It's not that we're trying to hide it, we're also trying to, keep perspective. I think it's an important thing.
Beth, Tom, do you have a comment? No, Beth.
You sure? Okay. So that, following what Jim was saying, so I think that that's something just to keep in mind when you draft your letter, is that this board thought carefully about the term option presented in order to lessen the impact on the district as a whole, that was something that we made a proactive choice to ensure that the impact was minimal.
I'm very certain we would include that, and we will share the letter with everyone. So the motion on the floor is to permit myself and Dr. Eric Killian to draft a letter and to send to all the towns in the district about the matter, and I will be sure that letter is shared with the entire board before we distribute. I'll even go in so far as to say, I will request your feedback and you can individually call or email me. Because that's just how I operate. You're shaking your head, Tom.
Oh, I don't think we can do it that way.
What do you mean?
I think we'd have to discuss it in the meeting.
And that's what I said first, and the board is saying different. So I'm following the will of the board. I said we could just handle this next meeting. Well,
Just communicating the last vote.
yeah, I mean, would you like to, I'll let the superintendent speak and provide her input.
Oh, thank you. So essentially, the board is asking the SAU to communicate your last motion. So your last motion was, Dr. Beth's motion as far as how you're, repaying back the overpayment. And so we can communicate that to all the boards. Not all the boards, all the towns. And actually, I know I said it should come from the board, but if you permit it to come from the SAU, then you can really just ask us to do that.
Okay, sure. I tried.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, so the motion is, well,
Just my final thing, I'd prefer to have it drawn up, circulated, and approved at the next meeting.
I don't think that's a bad idea. That was my original idea. The rest of the board. So, yeah, there's a different motion that and so, as we discussed a current motion that people wanted, they talked themselves out of liking their motion. That's not a bad thing. That's why we have a vote, and the board's will be decided. So if you would like us to circulate a draft letter for the board to approve at the next meeting, you'll vote no. If you would like me and Dr. Eric Hellion to draft a letter to share it with you guys for your input and to be permitted to distribute it to the towns, all of them in the district, without needing a second approval at the June 6th, or the June meeting, June 6th, then you'll vote yes. So is there any final input? And that's really the question at hand. Yes, Mary, we haven't heard from you in a while. I'd love to hear from you.
Between picking this up and putting it to my face, I might have forgotten what it is, but to me, the issue is our awareness, and the reason I brought it up earlier is just our awareness of what's being said. So if someone comes to us afterwards and say, hey, how about that letter that came? And we go, I don't know what they said. So it's not about approval so much as awareness.
And either way, again, the substantive difference is, does the other board members want to have a say in any additional edits before it's final sent out, or do they want to provide some edits and, we might include some of them or partial of some of them and then get it out before our June meeting? You guys all want to have a say in how it's drafted and how it looks, and approve it again in June, vote against the motion now, but I'm going to request that someone make a motion that we call the question, because we're beating a dead horse.
Can I say one more thing before we call the question? Please.
Yes, well, you guys want to rock, paper, scissors for who speaks next?
I'm quick.
Okay.
We don't need to micromanage this.
That's what I
Just-
was gonna say.
Just
Oh my
do
God.
it.
It's for the board to decide.
So I was just about to say the very same thing. I feel comfortable, given the amount of discussion that we've had this evening and the fact that we're all on the same page, I feel comfortable that Dr. Eric Hillian, as well as you, Brody, have very clearly the sense of the board in terms of how we want to communicate this to all the towns in the district. As an editor, I know it is always irresistible for me to correct someone else's work, but in this case, I am happy to let you folks handle it and share it with us before it goes out. I highly doubt there will be anything egregious that one of us will just have to jump in and fix, and that's why I'm going to vote yes.
Okay. Are we?
Call the question.
Well, before we have even a motion to call the question, are we done? If anyone else wants to speak, I'm going to entertain that motion. All right, so we'll save ourselves a vote. And the clerk will call the roll. So the question at hand is, are you going to permit myself and Dr. Eric Hellion to to draft a letter to share with you for your input and to send out. And if you vote no, then we're going to discuss it at the June meeting and have a draft letter for the board to approve. So, please call the roll.
Tom?
No.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Guy?
God and baby Jesus, yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Charlene?
Aye.
Dr. Beth?
Speckler, yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Brody?
I'm going to reluctantly vote yes. I thought we should just address it at the next meeting. But onwards and upwards, we'll have a wonderful letter to share with you. Okay.
Thank you.
With that, do you have any reports, Dr. Jim? Anything for us to take action or discuss?
No, I just want to remind everybody that the Zoom meeting on the 20th at 6 o'clock. Oh, all right. There's a meeting on Monday, May 20th at 6 p.m., a Zoom meeting on the basics of collective bargaining for board members. I think every one of us that's on the committee should do it. If you sign on, that's great. They'll send the stuff anyway, but it's better your signatures in soon because I think it's closing Monday next week.
They'll still record and you can ask for it after the fact. But it's
Right.
easier just to sign up so you get the email.
It comes automatically, otherwise you have to ask for it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's,
Bye.
thank you. That was the best report of the night.
I'll send you a report.
Advanced planning. So future meeting dates. So this week is Teacher Staff Appreciation Week. I really appreciate all the teachers and staff who are still here at 10 o'clock. So thank you. The 11th is KRHS prom at Cape Park. It'll be on the Mount Washington, right? That hasn't changed. Okay, it's been that way since forever. Gold Scholar Luncheon is the 22nd of May. There's no school on Memorial Day, which is the 27th of May. The retirement reception is June 3rd, before our June 3rd school board meeting, which, that's at the Tech Center. At the Tech Center. Will we meet here then?
We will meet at the Tech Center.
We'll meet at the Tech Center.
But the retirement reception, we're waiting on RSVPs to determine the location. So it'll be in one of these buildings, but we know that the school board meeting will be at LRTC.
Awesome. And graduation is the 14th of June with a rain date of the 15th of June. Kathy Legassi has sent everyone a spreadsheet for them to fill out for different events at the end of the year that they can attend. And so please, we like to have a presence at all of our end of year district events. And with that, to the wonderful public that managed to stay this long, is there any public input? Hearing none, I will seek a motion that we enter into non-public under New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman 2, subsection A, personnel. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? We're going to non-public. Yeah. Kathy, when you're ready, could you please call the roll?
The first and second.
The first is from Beth, and the second is from Guy.
Thank you. Tom?
Aye.
Jim?
Yep.
Sorry. Guy?
Yes.
Jim Pittman?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Charlene? Aye. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Dana?
Dana, you want to go into non-public? Non-public, yes or no?
We're
Going into non-public.
I voted yes.
Okay, got it.
Brody?
Aye.